As we stared, hypnotized into the fire, I contemplated the wisdom of John Muir. He said, "We all travel the Milky Way together, men, trees, animals, and in every walk with nature one receives much more than he seeks. The clearest way into the universe is through the forest wilderness."
He's putting sand
in the Makoro.
in the Makoro.
After enjoying this lovely early morning industrious scene, we got on the road to Katiba Mulilo, where we would fuel up for the long drive through the Ngoma border with Botswana into the Chobe National Park, heading north to Kasane. The start of part 2, our amazing time in Chobe, Victoria Falls, four-wheeling through the Savuti as we make our way to Mankwe and Mogothlo in the Moremi at the edge of the Okavango Delta, and ending at the Grasslands Bushman Lodge in the central Kalahari over the next 10 days. We barely entered Chobe National Park when we saw our first wildlife, a couple of southern ground hornbills. Paying our entrance fee, we were welcomed by a warthog as we made our way to the Big 5 Chobe Lodge, our home for the next few days. The lodge was comfortable, clean, situated in a beautiful spot on the bank of the Chobe River. Tired from another long day's driving, we were pleased to get to bed early. 2 glorious days of game viewing in the amazing Chobe National Park. Reaching the Chobe River, we immediately saw a huge herd of impala mixed in with a muster or a phalanx of marabou storks, one of the ugliest births on earth, also known as undertakers. I always thought that the Latin name Leptoptilus robustus should be Leptoptilus disgustus. Helmeted guinea fowl are perfectly capable of flying, but often seem to prefer running. The rock monitor lizard, or likkewan in Afrikaans, is the second largest lizard found in Africa, vastly outweighed by the Nile crocodile. Specimens as large as 20 feet and weighing up to 2,400 pounds have been recorded. The closest relatives of the hippo are whales, dolphins and porpoises, from which they diverged about 55 million years ago. Adults average 3,310 pounds for males and 2,870 for females. They are capable of running up to 20 miles an hour and are considered to be responsible for killing more people in Africa than any other animal. This bull found a cool spot to be debugged by red-billed oxpeckers. The African elephant is the largest land mammal, with males reaching a shoulder height of up to 13 feet and weighing more than 10 tons. They live in a matriarchal herd, and the young bulls get cast out at a certain age. We witnessed this ritual right here.
So it must be chased off.
Oh, so they're trying to.
So you have to join the bachelor head.
Right now. Oh, there he goes. That's sad. The greater kudu is for me the most beautiful of all antelope in this part of Africa. The majestic male stands more than 5 feet tall, with its impressive spiral horns reaching another 2 to 3 feet. In the sport of kudu dung spitting, contestants spit pellets of kudu dung with the farthest distance, including the roll, reached being the winner. I am pleased to say that I have never participated in a kudu dung spitting contest, only in an impala dung spitting contest. No safari in Chobe would be complete without an excursion on the Chobe riverboat. Our boat was a little overloaded and needed some pushing to get off the riverbank. Chakma baboons usually live in troops, which are composed of multiple adult males, adult females, and their offspring. Female ranking within the troop is inherited through the mother and remains relatively fixed, while the male ranking is often in flux, especially when the dominant male is replaced. Infanticide is not uncommon when a new dominant male asserts his authority and eliminates possible threats from future contestants.
What is the gestation period for baboon? 2.5?
Other animals such as impala and zebra are often seen among baboons, since the baboon sentry often will spot danger and issue alarm calls. Reproductive behavior is closely tied to social organization. The male's rank within the troop will often determine mating success. Most of the time, males with a higher rank will have a better chance to compete for mates.
Right away. Will he do it again, or is it successful immediately?
You will do it again, not
Multiple times.
not sure.
While one can spend hours admiring these gentle giants, it is worth paying special attention to the amazing bird life in Botswana.
Some they will be showering or they will be hot bathing in that.
For today, we hired the local driver, Kate, for the 53-mile drive to Victoria Falls. The Kasangulu border post with Zimbabwe was chaos, but after about 2 hours, Kate had us on our way. Passing through the village of Victoria Falls, we found the small dirt road leading to the starting point of the Victoria Falls zip line and canopy tour, offering fantastic views of the Zambezi River Rapids, Victoria Falls Bridge, and the Batoka Zambezi Gorge.
Become a professional zip liner.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie says she might become a professional zip liner. She likes the look.
What
about you?
It's a good look. Yeah.
After a comprehensive safety briefing, our guides helped us into our harnesses, and we embarked on a 2.5-hour adventure, sliding at speeds sometimes as high as 60 miles per hour, hurtling almost 1,300 feet across the gorge, while suspended more than 300 feet above the breathtaking beauty of the rushing Zambezi River below. How was that?
It was awesome. Terrifying and awesome.
Katie, so what? How's that?
So far, so good.
Okay, here comes Dad.
The Victoria Falls Canopy Tour offers a network of 9 zip lines, trails and rope bridges, walkways within the canopy of the Zambezi Gorge's hardwood forest, a short distance downstream from one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. We were told that this is the longest zip line ride in the world.
Girls?
Thank you.
I'm not, I'm just walking. One of the world's classic 5-star hotels commands prime location overlooking the Victoria Falls. This Edwardian-style hotel, built in 1904 by Cecil John Rhodes, has for more than 110 years been a luxury icon in Africa. Katie and I have stayed here several times during our safaris to Africa, so we just had to enjoy an early afternoon refreshment in this luxury before our next adventure. Victoria Falls, one of the world's greatest wonders. More than twice the size of Niagara Falls, the mighty Zambezi River crashes more than 300 feet over the rim, more than a mile wide, into the Batoka Zambezi Gorge below, and then rises again in a spray that can be seen for miles. Upon being led to the falls by the local natives in 1860, Dr. David Livingstone exclaimed, "A sight so wonderful must have been gazed upon by angels in their flight." He was right. So vast are the falls and their setting in this spectacular surrounding that it is difficult to grasp their true grandeur, and for this reason they are perhaps best seen from the air. The Africans who led Dr. Livingstone here called this place Moziwatunya, or the smoke that thunders. A wonderful adventure-packed day. Our driver, Kate, picked us up and we were barely out of town when we saw this bachelor herd next to the road. This is when you know that you are truly in Africa. Just before dinner, our last sundowner in Chobe at the Big 5 Safari Lodge on the banks of the Chobe River. Tomorrow, a true four-wheel drive adventure through the Savuti and the sands of the Kalahari on the way to the Moremi and the Okavango Delta. We have about 10 hours of hard driving today, so we left very early on the road back to the Ngoma entrance gate. At Ngoma, we took the road to the Savuti Lenyati area and Maun towards Goha, the westernmost gate of Chobe. Very soon, we were driving in the deep sands of the Kalahari. The going was very rough, as indicated by this unstabilized video clip. Crossing the Savuti in the Kalahari Desert is both a great adventure and a wild spectacle for those willing to bake a bit in the Savuti sun. One must be prepared for a little Savuti to stick in your soul. It is one of the most wild and special places in the world. In October, the land crackles like old paint, and the rising desert air undulates with heat mirages. There has not been rain for months, and the temperatures reach into the mid-110s Fahrenheit, evaporating all the water in the region. The famous Savuti Marsh has become a savanna of crisp golden straw, stunted stretches of Mopani forests, deep sand reaching temperatures into the 140s, and the air literally feeling like it is boiling. The Mopani bushes are leafless skeletons hibernating until the rains come again. Well, the inevitable happened. The deep sand and extreme temperatures literally exploded one of our tires. A new adventure.
Wait, Sharon, we could take our shirts off and fan the Fan the flies.
Changing a wheel too hot to touch, in air unbreathably hot, and sweat, bees, flies, and other insects literally crawling into one's eyes, mouth, nose, having suddenly discovered the only source of moisture in 100 miles.
I don't know, Katie. They're swarming my face so much I can't see.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I can never tell back.
They're swarming my eyes.
We decided this was a good opportunity to lower the air pressure in our tires. This will improve traction in the deep sand and hopefully prevent another blowout.
Chobe Forest Reserve.
Welcome to... About midday,
Dump gate.
we left the Chobe National Park through the Koha Gate, about halfway to our destination at Mankwe Tented Camp, in the Moremi, and we entered the Savuti proper. Savuti used to be a great lake, which dried up and is now an endless land of white Mupani sands baking in the sun, allowing the hooved grazers time to roam while the lions spent out the day on their bellies in the shade. The deep white sand sucked car tires down into their grip, cementing them in their tracks. Self-driving in Savuti is an extreme sun-baked adventure.
Oh, and then there's something over here to the left. The road changes.
We left Savuti through the Mababe Gate, still 4 hours from our destination, experiencing the realities and cruelty of Africa as we passed this elephant carcass.
Oh, so much for the trees.
Dumalang. Pakai.
The Mababe River was the first river since Chobe in which we saw water. We left this lovely, tranquil scene reluctantly and drove through the village of Mababe on the wide but sandy road. We only had about 22 kilometers left to drive to reach our destination for today, after passing the Mogothlo Safari Lodge sign. Mankwe Tented Camp lies in a secret spot among the evergreen Mupani trees in a 300,000 acre, that's 1,200 square miles, private concession on the eastern boundary of the Moremi Game Reserve. The trail from the main road wound through the Mupani forest for another 3 kilometers. Mankwe means mother leopard in Setswana. We arrived tired, dusty, and thirsty. We freshened up in our tents, ready for a cocktail and an African dinner. As we stared, hypnotized into the fire, I contemplated the wisdom of John Muir. He said, "We all travel the Milky Way together, men, trees, animals, and in every walk with nature one receives much more than he seeks. The clearest way into the universe is through a forest wilderness." Driving the 3 kilometers back to the main road in the deep, soft, sandy trail was not much of a challenge, since by now we have had ample experience.
Is that awesome or what?
Of course, the only difference was that the main road was wider. The sand was just as deep. Another 22 kilometers further, we turned onto the small sandy trail to Mogothlo. Mogothlo means camel thorn tree in the local Setswana language. I think we missed a turn off.
Dumalan!
Beautiful Mogothlo Lodge is situated on the banks of the Kwai River. Normally a large water body, the river is shrunk to a pitiful, muddy stream due to the ongoing drought. After settling into our tents and an early lunch, I decided to fly my drone. A young, large employee named Bright approached me shyly and asked if one needs to go to university to learn to fly this. "Well, no, Bright," I said. "I can teach you in minutes." And here is Bright, flying the drone. What an incredible experience to see these gentle giants from this vantage point, just a short distance from the lodge deck. I brought the drone home and we took a short rest before the evening game drive and the sundown.
Here we go.
Spontaneous, so make it look spontaneous.
Okay. Okay.
Jenny,
Hey.
you're in Africa.
Hey, we are in Africa.
That's where we're at. More specifically, Botswana.
We are in Botswana.
Oh, look at that smile. He's got the best smile. You know?
The afternoon game drive was amazing, but Sachs had a perfect end of the day in mind. After determining the general direction this herd of elephants was traveling, he knew just where to go for us to witness a huge number of elephants coming down to the river for the evening drink. He made a beeline to this spot so that we could marvel at elephant after elephant rushing towards the water while hippos lounged in the deeper part of the river. As I sat there overcome with emotion in this beautiful serene sunset scene, I wondered if these animals share the ancient stirring I feel in my soul at every African sunset experience.
This is amazing.
Okay. Hi. Thanks. Bye. We're in Africa.
Wait, girls, where are we?
In Africa.
This is what it's about, Joe.
In Denver, just so you know, Billy, they did close a Walmart. And it was in our neighborhood.
This is Africa. I tripped on an elephant too.
Yes,
What do you think of that?
I think it was absolutely amazing. Beautiful.
This is life.
This is Africa.
As if the day was not already perfect enough, a special bonus. In more than 45 years of going to the African bush, Katie and I have never seen African wild dogs. The game drive could not have ended on a higher note than this.
Another morning in paradise. Socks.
Testicles on this one. I don't know, but I'm suffering from some envy. Sachs asked me this morning, "What do you want to see today, Thabo?" "Elephants," I said, knowing that that's a guarantee in this part of the Moremi and the Okavango Delta. "And I want to see the Kalahari black maned lion," I said. "You will see elephants more than you can count," said Sachs. "The Kalahari lion? We have to be lucky." The rains that normally fill the Okavango don't actually fall over the delta itself. Instead, the rains fall in the Angolan highlands and water travel about 450 kilometers, 280 miles, through meandering rivers and over an extremely shallow gradient. As a result, rains that typically fall over Angola from October through March don't usually reach the bottom of the Okavango Delta until July. The last time the delta flooded in this part of the Moremi was in 2012. Where we are driving here would normally be filled with water as far as one could see, and the only access would be in the Tswana dugout canoes called Makoro. I don't think there was any luck involved in finding these two male Kalahari lions panting under a tree in the morning heat. Sachs has got to be one of the best guides we have ever had in Botswana. Yeah, he says I'm staying in the shade. After a full day in the hot Okavango sun, never tiring of the amazing wildlife at every turn, we settled down in the dry, hard mud undulating with giant elephant footprints for our sundown experience. I took the opportunity to launch the drone to film the amazing numbers of elephants spread out over this vast expanse of the dried up Okavango Delta. Left in the early dawn for a long drive today, 100 kilometers to Maun, another 240 kilometers past Ganzi, turning off on a sandy trail 80 kilometers to the Grassland Bushman Safari Lodge, a total of 423 kilometers. Almost immediately we came across this herd of elephants acting really agitated, their deep stomach rumblings unusually loud, running around confused and trumpeting loudly as if in distress. We were wondering what could possibly be stressing them like this in the early morning dawn. We drove on slowly, and there, next to the road, was the reason. A pack of spotted hyenas.
Count the number of hyenas. Jenny, shine the light to left, more left, more left. Up. Where's the jackal, Katie?
And a little jackal.
Yeah.
Having killed a juvenile elephant, the alpha female and the sister were tearing at the carcass. A gory scene, but a vivid reminder that Africa remains a wild place. Hyenas are well known as scavengers, but they are actually more as hunters than lions. They have an interesting social structure in which the females are dominant over males. The alpha female gets to eat first and sometimes will allow another dominant female to join in, but the rest of the pack must wait until she gives permission. An interesting aspect about spotted hyena is that both male and females have prominent genitals. Female genitals mimic those of males. Females have a fat-filled pseudoscrotum, and the clitoris is erectile, the same size and almost the same shape as the male's penis. It is sometimes hard to identify the gender correctly.
Where do you want the light? I want the light back here. Those others are skittish. Shine it outside the car a little more. Yeah, the reflection will be there.
Having still more than 460 kilometers to go, we continued on the bumpy, sandy, dusty road until we were stopped at the cattle fence to be disinfected in order to prevent the spread of hoof and mouth and other animal diseases to the livestock to the south of the fence.
That's one, so.
That's one, so.
Hey. Look, Alibu.
We stopped in Maun for gas at Riley's Garage, an institution in these parts since the late 1930s. The last time Katie and I filled up here was on an overland self-drive safari in 1997. In all this time, nothing has changed. 240 kilometers further on a beautiful road past Ganzi, we found the sign to turn off onto the deep Kalahari sand 4x4 trail to the Grasslands Bushman Lodge. Having learned our lesson about deflating our tires in the Savuti, we tackled the last 80 kilometers of today's trek. The driving was tedious through the central Kalahari cattle farm country. It took almost 2 hours to drive the 80 kilometers.
Nice ass, lady! Look at all those asses!
Finally, after opening and closing 19 farm gates, we arrived at the beautiful lodge. After refreshments and settling into our accommodations, we went on our afternoon game drive. After everything that we have seen up to now, this was somewhat disappointing, until we went to see the lodge's predator rescue project. Grassland Bushman Lodge has rescued lions, wild dogs and leopards and cares for them until they can be relocated to national game reserves. These are animals that killed livestock and would have been killed by the farmers. They are kept in large enclosures with minimal human contact so that they can be reintroduced into the wild. The predators on grassland have literally been saved from a bullet. A special thrill was to stand inside the enclosure with scores of wild dogs literally just feet away. African wild dogs live in large packs that are usually dominated by a monogamous breeding pair. The female has a litter of 2 to 20 pups, which are cared for by the entire pack. Back at the lodge, we enjoyed watching the herd of eland that came down to the waterhole. The eland is the largest antelope in Africa. An adult male is about 5 feet tall at the shoulder and can weigh more than 2,000 pounds. We would discover that many animals frequent this water source, but we're particularly thrilled to see the white rhinos wallowing in the mud. Of course, the rhino is not white at all. A popular theory is that the early Afrikaners named this rhino Wit Rhinoster, referring to the wide square mouth. The early English settlers mistranslated this word to white, and the name stuck. Today the Afrikaans name is Witrenoster, meaning white. Walking to the main lodge for our sundowner cocktail and dinner, we were told to be careful of the male rhino who may charge.
He's going to intercept you right there. Hello. Yeah. Ko gina tabo.
Ja, Tabo.
Kidin. Kai. Sagbo dumelara. Yeah. Uta. Kom. Okay. Baba. And this one? Tumku. Tumku. Isa. Apa? Krika. Hello, Krika. Apa?
Today, our last day in Botswana, a very special experience. We are each introduced individually to the members of the Bushman clan who lives in this area.
Okay, so we're going to walk with them through the bush, and they're going to show us all the different things that they can eat, how they survive for so long here in this harsh environment.
We followed the clan into the Kalahari scrubland, their home, to the area where they will do these demonstrations for us.
They've sharpened the end so it's nice for digging, and you can feel how heavy it is compared to other wood. Yes, so this one is called the velvet leaf raisin bush, and you were first showing these berries here. So usually after the rain, there's a lot of berries all over the tree, and they're really, the Bushmen love to eat them. They're quite sweet, and then they also use it to make their walking sticks. So this one, they'll dig out a piece of the root, and then the handle is done decoratively. See here, he was telling me this morning that this one, it's a gemsbok, and then this is a lion, and the lion is biting the gemsbok. Over here, he's seen the tracks of the oryx. It was lying down. So that's its tail. It was came over here by this tree, and he was rubbing his horns in there. So this is their quiver that they make for their arrows, and they use the root of this tree. So they dig out a section, then they cut it off, and they warm it in the fire again. And when it warms, the skin on the outside separates from the middle, back, and then they make a cap from the skin of an antelope. And they tie it with a piece of sinew like this, nice and tight, and then they leave it as well. And when that dries, it goes really nice and hard, and it makes this quiver. So that plant he's pointing at over here, this one, it's called tortoise food, because the tortoises like to come and eat it. Got very nice, almost succulent leaves, so there's a bit of moisture in the leaves as well. When they find the tracks, they follow it, because they're often hiding in the shade in the midday. And then they'll pick it up and they turn it over and put it like that on its back so it can't go anywhere. And then they carry on with what they're doing, and then they come back and they fetch it. And then they take it back to the village. And what they usually do is they cut off this part of the shell and they cook the meat on the fire with that part. And then they keep this and they use it for a bowl. So the honey badger ate this one of the bush. and they will dig it out, and then we will eat from the roots, and it's really nice. It's full of moisture, so it's one of the ways the Bushmen get water. So the ladies are going to dig it out for us. To make fire. And what they do is each time they need to use it, they just cut a new little groove. So when it's an old fire sticker, so it will have lots of these, and they clean this, must be white again. And then they rub and they make their fire.
Put a little sand in.
Yeah, a little bit of sand for friction, but not too much. It's got to be just the right amount. Yeah.
What kind of ants are these?
I
How do they keep the thorns from getting into their feet? I mean, I'm sitting there walking.
Feet, because they always. Basically, all wondering the son of the healer becomes the next healer. And so then this is the bag that they make, and it's made from the skin of an antelope. So they use the whole antelope to make the bag. It's usually the small steenbok or the duiker. So this is the neck, the head would have been here. Then they take the front legs to make the straps tied to the back legs.
Wow.
And then that's things that they use to tan the leather. So this root gives the leather this color. So they So now what we do is, like she's doing there, you take off the outside skin, and when you're the woman peeling it, it's very important that you don't get the skin to fall on your legs, because then your husband will die. 2 hours from here.
Okay,
And it's been blessed.
is there a religious belief about her necklace?
I don't think
or
so.
it's
I
just
think it's
ornamentation?
Yeah, it's just ornamentation. And then these, so each bead, they take the ostrich eggshell and they break it, and then each bead they rub on a stone to make it round. So this could take them like a week to make, because each time they take the square piece of shell and they rub it until it goes round, and then they put it on the string.
They drill it with an arrow. Huh?
Yes, with their arrow point and the sinew from the back muscle of the eland. They cut it out, and then they twist it just like the rope that he made. They twist it to make it strong. And then this is made from the velvet leaf raisin bush that they make the walking stick as well, because it bends nicely. So it's this one over here. So he's going to show us now. That's his target over there. He's put his bag in the tree, and then he'll show us how they eat. The poisoned arrow, and it would take about 3 days for the eland to get weak enough that it just lies down. So what they do is they go usually in the late afternoon, evening, and they shoot the animal. They try to get a good shot, but even if they cut the leg, it's good enough. The poison will go in a little bit, and then they go back to the village that night. They sleep, they don't eat, they don't drink, and they don't speak to anybody. And then the following morning, they get up and they take the track of the animal that they've injured, and then they track it for 2 or 3 days, and then eventually they will find it.
Now, how do they protect themselves against the poison?
They have to be very careful. Usually it's only the older men that live with the poison, and they
So this one is hierdie ene is die ratel. Daai ene is die man se gebyt.
This morning, with Paula and the Grassland Kalahari Bushman, was for me a major highlight. The humble simplicity of these gentle people belies their incredible wealth of knowledge to survive in these inhospitable surroundings, wealth of tribal history, being the oldest human beings in Africa. Anthropologists believe that they have lived here for at least 20,000 years. And the obvious wealth of love so unmistakably shown each of them for all of them. A people with very little, yet possessing so much. We left the Grassland Bushman Lodge after lunch for the almost 400-mile drive to Windhoek. Before the main road, we reinflated our tires and pointed our land cruisers towards the Mamuno border post. Just before the border, we stopped for our last bush bathroom break. Having been in the bush, driving on Kalahari sand trails the past 10 days, it was really nice to enter Namibia with the good roads and the distant mountain scenes. Late afternoon, we arrived in Windhoek and settled in at Casa Piccolo for our last night in Namibia. All we needed to do today was to return our land cruisers and make it to the airport. But that's another story with some Air Namibia screw-up, but we were able to get onto a South African Airways flight and made it to Johannesburg for our dinner and wine tasting evening at our favorite boutique hotel, number 10 Bompas. After enjoying our last sundowner cocktail in the beautiful garden terrace, we joined a small group of guests for an amazing dinner paired with wine from the Lanzerac winery in the Cape Winelands. The food was amazing, the wine fantastic, and our new friends entirely entertaining. Special bonus, my sister Marty was able to join us for this enjoyable evening and for the next day's excursion to the Cradle of Humankind and a visit to Soweto to see the Nelson Mandela Museum and other exhibits. With all our luggage loaded, we drove to one of my favorite places in this part of the country, the Cradle of Humankind at Maropeng and at the Sterkfontein Caves. The new Maropeng Visitor Center is an award-winning, world-class exhibition focusing on the development of humans and our ancestors over the past few million years. We took a journey through time, starting with the formation of the planet and moving all the way through the evolutionary process that culminated in the world as we know it today. Sterkfontein Caves, now designated as the Cradle of Humankind World Heritage Site, represent one of the world's richest fossil sites. Thousands of fossils have been found here, and particularly many Australopithecus fossils. An estimated 40% of all the world's human ancestor fossils have been found in the cradle. Fossils discovered at the caves date back more than 4 million years and are commonly accepted as representative of the birth of humanity. The caves have given rise to world-famous fossil discoveries such as Littlefoot in 1997, Australopithecus sediba in 2013, and Homo naledi also in 2013. But probably the best-known discovery was made by Professor Robert Broom in 1947. Mrs. Ples is the popular nickname for the most complete skull of Australopithecus africanus ever found in South Africa. The genus Australopithecus is considered the likely precursor of the genus Homo, to which all humanity belongs. So for me, backed up by science, we all come from this place. We walked back to our van for our last excursion, SOWETO. SOWETO adjoins the city of Johannesburg in the southwest, originally set aside by the South African government for residence by blacks. Its name is an acronym derived from Southwestern Townships. It is the country's largest black urban complex. Today, estimates of the population, representing a number of black ethnic groups, exceed 2 million people. The townships grew out of shanty towns and slums that arose with the arrival of black laborers from rural areas, in particular in the period between World Wars I and II. Soweto residents were in the forefront of demands for the development of equality during the country's apartheid era. A number of commemorative installations exist in Soweto today. We visited the Hector Peterson Memorial and Museum, which commemorates the role of the country's students in the struggle against apartheid and in particular the role played by the school children who took part in the Soweto protests of 1976, many of whom were shot by police while protesting against the substandards of education in black schools in South Africa. Our last tour before leaving South Africa tonight. The Nelson Mandela National Museum, commonly referred to as Mandela House, is the house at 8115 Vilakazi Street in Orlando West in Soweto, where Nelson Mandela lived from 1946 to 1962. The house is a modest single-story red brick matchbox built in 1945. It has bullet holes in the walls and the facade has scorch marks from attacks with Molotov cocktails. The inside hosts some original furnishings and memorabilia, including photographs, citations given to Mandela, and the World Championship belt given to Mandela by Sugar Ray Leonard. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. On the way to the airport, we discussed with wonder the amazing adventure, concluding today our last day in Africa. Most of the planning for this adventure was done by Safari for Africa. Today, the owner, Lawrence Marks, was our guide personally. We highly recommend Lawrence and his company, particularly if one has a complicated itinerary such as ours. An excellent journey through Africa, and yes, a little bit of Africa will stick to our souls for a very long time.